So I am the president of First International Bank, First Finance Bank, and we did this bank in order to serve the consumer who doesn't have access to the banking services. To be ourselves an MSB for many years bring us in front of a problem to fix, which is how can we do our business by spending time on a business and not only focusing and spending time on a compliance and regulation. When you have 50 states to work with, you have the same job every 3 months, which is to talk to them, to do the reporting, and to try to provide them the information they need, which is not necessarily the same in every state, because every state has its own vision about the law, which is very interesting because the law is supposedly be the law. But a state will tell you, you're right, but we would like you to do it that way. So we decided to leave the state problem and to go to the banking side, to become ourselves a bank, not to be a bank like the traditional bank, but to be an entrepreneur who get a banking license in order to regulate and to do our own business by be ourselves our own provider. So the banking side gives us a possibility to serve the client, keeping our spirit and keeping the origin of our business model and why we started to do that. We want to be the company providing service to consumer who doesn't have access to service, is why we are doing this. What we do, we are a money transmitter, we are a providing of bill payment, top up like many companies, but why we are doing it is because it's difficult for someone who doesn't have necessarily a lot of money or who doesn't have access to the traditional network to become served by this. One day I attended a banking conference where all of the bank was saying that their system was so good, their service was so good. I did ask a question and I say, why do we have 60 million in bank if the banking industry is so fantastic and so good? And nobody answered me except one banker who told me because we create them. The customer who doesn't have enough money, who doesn't comply with our banking traditional requirement, we try to make sure he will never come back to us. We will charge him $35 fees on an overdraft, on an item bounced, and we will put it on a check system so he cannot come back and have a bank account with us. Is why we have people still with non-bank, is because it's not yet the proper service for this consumer. We don't want that. So we decided to not say to be the bank of the poor, but to be the bank of the unserved and underserved. And by doing a digital-only bank, removing all of the branch, because we consider that the new customer, the millennium and the new customer will not need to have a branch. The money is becoming totally digital. And look, the music years ago, people was buying CD, now people are streaming, don't even buy the music. The financial world will be exactly the same. It will be a digital world. People will have access to the money, and they do it today, can buy a house doing a mortgage online, can buy a house, can buy a car, can have access to a loan, will receive the payment, will pay digitally. The money, like we know it traditionally, will still of course exist, but in the mentality of the consumer, the financial world will be digital. The studies say that 30% today of the consumer look for an alternative to a bank. Is where we are going to be a digital-only bank, but in order to do it, if we cannot find the good and proper service from the other bank, we decided to become a bank ourselves to do it. So one also thing that I noticed, the bank, to protect themselves, are building wall to be sure that certain customer doesn't come inside their network. They don't see this big wave coming from the digital need, from this new customer. So they are building every year a big wall. We want working with the fintech, with the financial people, the one who try to change the system and not to work as a competitor between each other, because technically we are all acting to change the way people see the finance and see the bank. So we want a partnership. We want to exchange the idea. We want to bring one piece of the puzzle and someone else bring another piece of the puzzle. And as we say, all together, we are more powerful than just an individual trying to work in a country. When today you want to communicate to someone, you are using a social mobile application. Why? Because it's using the same. You don't have a social way to talk by people, by country. You use WhatsApp, you use Messenger, you whatever you want. Why? Because it's international. You are part of a large world. And we need to work as colleagues and as partnership and not as a competitor in order to be able to break all of this barrier and break all of the problems that the people have by offering a service who will be economically more accessible, but the profit will still be there. Because when you lower the cost, the profit is still here. So by lowering the cost, by providing a better service, by optimizing everything we are doing all together, it will be very possible to open a good world and to protect each other.